What does it take to build community power? And how can that power help to leverage real changes that undo the work of structural racism and create equity? My name is Meredith Muir, and I'm a graduate student at the Harris School of Public Policy at the University of Chicago. Our roadmap for today will begin with my journey into community organizing and understanding of systems and structures. We'll walk through my transition to graduate school and an introduction to collective impact work through a community organization in the South Shore neighborhood, and end with my main takeaways and a call to action. For me, as a girl who grew up in small-town Michigan, my journey to understanding structural racism, privilege, and power has had a lot of twists and turns. But I want to tell you one strand of that story, which starts at a community organizing rally with DuPage United. A good friend of mine had just begun working as a community organizer, and she invited me to come and see what the work was all about. I caught the tail end of DuPage United's campaign for job creation. I sat in a suburban church with hundreds of others while leaders announced a county-wide job readiness program and recalled all the fights they had to take on to get there. Hearing and seeing the powerful coalition they built, I was inspired. This was my entry to community organizing, and I spent the next 2 years diving into the work as a volunteer leader. I led community listening sessions, researched public access to bus transportation, built relationships across a diverse coalition, and spoke to a crowd of 1,000 at an event for community and Muslim solidarity. I learned that for communities, especially those who over the course of history have experienced disenfranchisement, disinvestment, racial segregation, lack of access, and a lack of privilege, organizing creates a space to build community power. Community organizing is defined as a method of engaging and empowering people with the purpose of increasing the influence of groups historically underrepresented in policies and decision-making that affect their lives. More simply, community organizing helps people to build power and affect change. Though my undergraduate degree in sociology helped to transform my understanding of structural inequality far earlier in life, as a white woman, constant unlearning is required. So I continually look to the voices of others to shape my thinking. For example, if you haven't yet listened to Angela Herlock, Executive Director of Claretian Associates, give her Voices in Action talk in this series, stop what you're doing, turn this off, go listen to her incredible lecture on home, neighborhoods, and 6 blocks that shape your community. But back to the topic at hand. In 1849, Frederick Douglass said, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. Power concedes nothing without a demand." These words were spoken over 150 years ago, and to this day, power for the privileged still remains dominant. Today, communities face many layered systems blocking community well-being. Community organizing is all about building collective power. Much of my career in nonprofit work has occurred alongside underserved communities, and my understanding for the structures and systems that privilege some and cause harm to others only expanded. But I wanted to more deeply understand how communities can more effectively build collective community power and impact. I loved my work, but I left to attend graduate school at the Harris School of Public Policy because I wanted to better understand how to change that reality and how communities can better take part in changing that reality. At Harris, I started to learn about statistics and data and how the ability to claim impact relies on measuring, tracking, and deeply evaluating programs and work. I studied the roots of community organizing and how to effectively fight for policy change and community equity. I also got the chance to work with organizations deeply connected to South and West Side communities in Chicago. I served as the board president of Harris Community Action, a student organization that brings data analysis, strategic thinking, and evaluation support to community organizations on the south and west sides of the city. I've also been able to work with the Community Programs Accelerator, a branch of the Office of Civic Engagement at the university that takes on capacity building work with Southside organizations. Through the Office of Civic Engagement and in partnership with the University of Chicago Medicine, I was offered the opportunity to work alongside a group of organizations in the South Shore neighborhood through the South Shore Works Public Safety Committee. These organizations are trying to come together to decrease gun violence, address community trauma, and build positive presence in the neighborhood through a framework called collective impact. The various public and nonprofit organizations are coming together to work on broad tasks, including working to establish a neighborhood victim services network, increase access to mental health services, and build programming that increases positive presence throughout the neighborhood. I learned at the beginning of my work about the 5 pillars of collective impact: a common agenda amongst members, shared measurement systems for tracking outcomes, mutually reinforcing activities across organizational programming, continuous communication, and a strong facilitation support from a backbone organization. As I dove into the work, I realized that collective impact is a methodology that shares much in common with community organizing, but it builds upon the methodology specifically by focusing on shared metrics and evaluation. Over the course of the past 6 months, I've watched South Shore Works and its partnering organizations like Lawrence Hall and Clarice and Associates slowly build meaningful work by collaborating to solve complex and structural problems. For both community organizing and collective impact, the process can be and often is messy. Bringing so many players to the table means that the work moves slowly. In South Shore, the Violence Prevention Collective has experienced this challenge firsthand. Different organizations bring different definitions and different priorities, and building alignment, especially to measure impact, takes incredible patience and resilience. But if the process is done well, powerful impact for communities is possible. There are 6 main takeaways I've come to through my work with the Office of Civic Engagement and the community organizations collaborating in South Shore. Collective impact is all about what we're able to do together and how to prove what we've accomplished. It lets you prove the worth of your work to funders and prove impact to the community. It helps to build the roadmap ahead, and it continually enforces equity as a key value. Most importantly, it allows the whole to be greater than the sum of the parts. To me, this is exactly why this work matters. As someone coming into communities, not necessarily as a resident or even as a lifelong Chicagoan, but as someone who cares deeply about building equity across communities, these kind of methods that bring all the stakeholders and all the people to the table who need to be there to make decisions by communities and for communities. This holds incredible value and is work I hope to continue uplifting and taking part in throughout my career. So the question I would like to leave you with is this: what does your community need? And how can you start to build power with your neighbors and with your community to create equitable change with impact that can be seen, felt, and measured?